All right, lesson 8 of unit 6. Here are some relationships that produce graphs that have a repetitive nature. All right, now repetitive nature, what we want to do is we want to go back to our lesson notes from unit 1, and we want to talk about repetitive nature means we have a periodic function. Okay, I've talked about this previously, but a periodic function is a function whose values repeat themselves over a regular interval. Okay, so that regular interval is known as the period. So when they say here, are some relationships that produce graphs that have a repetitive nature, what they're really saying is that these are periodic functions. So for each situation, describe the dependent and independent variable. How does the dependent variable change? What might cause this change? So the dependent variable, okay, the dependent variable is your y value. Your independent variable is your x value. Okay, with the y value is called the dependent variable because it depends on what the x value does. Okay, so in this case, the independent variable in number 1 is time, and the dependent variable is the distance from the starting line. And you can see the graph is kind of a wavy shape, so it repeats itself over a certain number of time. So notice each time it goes through a cycle, it goes about 1.7 miles to the starting line. So it starts at 0 and then goes to about 1.7 miles from the start finish line and then goes back down to 0. And then it goes back up and then it goes back down to 0. Okay, so the distance from the start line goes from 0 to 1.7 miles and back to 0. And back to 0. Okay? And then it repeats itself. Now, how often does it repeat itself? So this would be, I would say, about 1.7 minutes. Okay? And then it repeats itself here, and then it's going to come back down and repeat itself here. So it's going to repeat itself. Every minute and a half, all right, or a little bit more than a minute and a half. Okay, so this cycle repeats itself every 1.7, we'll call it 1.7 to 1.8 minutes. Okay. All right. Now, the next one, what might cause this change? Well, why are they constantly going up and then down? Because they're doing laps around a track. So what might cause this change? Doing laps around the track. Okay. Number 2, this is the graph of the temperature in a city in Australia over 21 days. So notice it does the same up, down, up, down. Now the maximum, unlike in the number 1, the maximum does not stay the same. Notice the maximum is over here, but then it increases up here, and then the maximum is all the way up here. And it's the same thing with the minimum, but it goes up and then it goes down. Let me change the color here. So it goes up and then it goes down at the end of each day. And then it goes up and then it goes down. Okay? And that's about every day. Okay? So the temperature the temperature goes up, reaches a maximum point, and then goes down. Okay? This cycle repeats itself every day. Okay? So there's a high temperature and a low temperature for each day. The important thing to note is, unlike number 1, the max and min points for each day are different. Okay? The max and min points for each day are different. Now, why might this be the case? Well, it would be because there's different seasons, right? So your high temperature in January is going to be different from your high temperature in February or March or April, so on and so forth. But it still has that same general cycle. It goes up, it reaches a high temperature for the day, and then goes down. Goes up, goes down, and it repeats itself every day.